Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to my channel, I used to work for the mainstream news. I worked for Global News, and then they fired me for questioning the COVID narrative. I want to say Happy New Year and everything and all that stuff. But I feel like this year people were very mellow. There was not a lot of fun and festivity, at least people in my social circle. Everybody was very meh. Everybody was kind of stressed and in a if people are in a penny pinching stage as it is because things are so expensive, so people don't have a lot of disposable income, and Christmas happens to have turned into this commercial cacophony, right, of just spending, which is really hard for people. It puts a lot of stress on people. So I found people were really kind of low key this Christmas and New Year's, as is to be expected. And we all can't wait for things to change. It's no secret how Canada is feeling about Trudeau right now. But in today's video, I'm going to talk about John Rustad. Remember, we had an election also October 19th, and it took about, 100 years to count what the result was. And I'm not even sure the count what is accurate. So here's the latest from John Rustad. This is an article from the Prince George Citizen. And the headline is, Rustad says BC Conservatives will release an election report in January. Okay. BC's new opposition leader is planning to release a report into the 2024 provincial election early in the new year. Speaking with the Citizen on Monday, December 23rd, to go over a 2024 that saw the Conservative Party of BC earn its best electoral result since forming a majority in 1949, party leader John Rustad said he's received lots of questions about why the party didn't question the results. I did that intentionally for two reasons, Rustad said. First of all, I wanted to make sure that I support democracy and the democratic process, but I also wanted to give us time to do some research and to look into the issues and bring things forward at the appropriate time. He says, I'm looking forward to January because we're actually going to be bringing forward a report on what we have found from the election and why we need to be able to have an independent review of not just the election, but also Elections BC. Okay. What's going on with there? That's a little bit of a tease. Multiple errors were noted by Elections BC in the aftermath of the October 19th election. The article goes on to talk about Surrey Guildford. I won't read that to you, but I'm going to read the part where he says here, in the wake of these errors, Premier David Eby proposed the creation of an all-party committee to investigate what went wrong. Okay, so an all-party committee. Well, that sounds like a good thing, but I'm going to play you this little clip of what Rustad says and why maybe that's not the greatest idea. This is from a month ago, and this is from the CBC, where John is talking to Gloria Makarenko.
The challenge with having an all-party committee is, of course, then you end up with partisan politics being at play. With the government in control of an all-party committee, of course, with its majority. This is why you want to have an independent look at it. And with an independent look, too, they can look at things, if you give them a full scope to be able to look at it. They can look at things, for example, of how telephone balloting is done, and how they are able to make sure that they're Canadian citizens and that they're the individuals who say they are as part of voting process. They can go through all components just to be able to reinforce how elections are done, the legislation that we have in place, whether any changes are needed, and most importantly, to be able to restore that confidence that people should have in our electoral system.
It's interesting. You did react quite quickly to the news yesterday. We're releasing a statement that made it clear that you're not disputing the final outcome of the election. I mean, why was it important to you to make it clear that the final result of the election is not in question here?
Democracy is a delicate structure, if you want to call it that. And if we do not have confidence in our democratic processes, we are in serious trouble. And I don't want to be doing anything that's going to undermine the process, which is why I say that we have accepted the results. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that the process is there going forward, that people can have confidence in it, and that they know, I guess you could say, how the sausage is made. People can love.
Well, yeah, fair enough. That is a fair point. I mean, he's not trying to criticize the process. He just wants to make sure the process is done correctly. What I found interesting in that article is that he said that he looks forward to January because they're going to be bringing forward a report, and then goes on to say, because we need to be able to have an independent review of not just the elections, but also Elections BC. So that's kind of like a big tease saying something about Elections BC. What is he trying to say exactly? And speaking of Elections BC, here's another clip. This is of Anton Bogman. Now, he's the Chief Electoral Officer of BC Elections, and here's what he had to say.
There may have been other contributing factors, including the extreme weather conditions on election day. It was also the first provincial election that was administered following the significant changes to the electoral legislation that were made in 2019. And while this process was fully tested in simulations and in 4 provincial by-elections, there are aspects like the out-of-district voting and counting that could only be administered in a full provincial election.
One interesting thing about being the chief electoral officer is that, your job is to make sure everything is like impartial and on the up and up and all that. But you cannot be a member of any political party, obviously. You cannot donate to any political candidate, obviously. And you cannot vote in any provincial election. I just thought that was interesting. Of course, yes, of course that makes sense. But it's like, oh, you give up your right to vote to have that job. It's just interesting. But anyway, moving on. I was so interested in this, and I was interested in the recounts, and I was really sort of very suspicious of these vote tabulator things and what have you. And then I heard that these scrutineers were going to be doing the recount. So I called a scrutineer who, obviously wants to remain anonymous, and I'm cool with that. But she was so interesting. I'm going to play, this is also from a month ago. I'm just going to play a little bit of what she said to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
The mail-in ballots were a little annoying because the mail-in ballots or the special voting ballots kind of came in separately. So we had a couple of tables that would get like one envelope might be like one ballot from a different district or like 89 ballots from a different district, right? So it was a little slower on that front.
How did they decide that they had to do a recount there? Is that because there was a discrepancy, or how is that even figured out that they're like, oh, we messed up in Prince George Mackenzie, messed up in Surrey Guildford, and messed up in Kelowna? They somehow figure that out.
Kelowna and Surrey Guildford, it's the only reason why they did the recount is because if they're 1 in 500, like percentage points between the two, then it's an automatic judicial recount. So there was a judge there as well as 2 lawyers for the NDP and 1 lawyer for the Conservative Party.
Well, and did the judge should be impartial, but yes. But do you know if he had any political affiliation?
I honestly, I don't know. She seemed very nice.
Okay.
Personable.
Cool.
And
yeah.
I honestly don't know if she was one way or the other.
Okay. Okay, because what I heard about the judge, Kevin Liu in Surrey Guildford, he was appointed by David Lametti back in 22. Oh. And David Lametti is such good friends with Trudeau. And, he's Asian, not that matters, but there is all that, David Eby has these affiliations with the CCS 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he gave them money. It's not the optics of that Surrey Guildford one are not good. Well, precisely. I feel like it's not completely transparent, whether they are doing things deliberately or whether it's just like human error, which might be part of it. It's like it's fishy. Something is fishy, but maybe not. Maybe not. It's going to be very interesting to find out what this review says. I just want to play a little bit more of what that scrutineer says, because I just thought she was so interesting.
A lot of what I'm noticing is kind of almost human error. Like, we shouldn't have done the vote anywhere. I think logistically that just messed up a lot of things. That whole vote anywhere.
Oh, you mean
wherever in the province, right? Like if you were in Williams Lake and you actually live in Kelowna Centre, you could vote in their electoral office. Well, logistically, now they have to mail all of those back to Victoria, right?
Yeah.
So that's what took so long, is basically every riding would have to take those ballots that they got from out of riding separated them into the proper writings, and then shipped them to Victoria to be counted.
Oh my
For the
goodness.
specific right? Like, that was dumb.
I thought she was pretty interesting. If you want to hear the full interview, I'll link it in the description box below. But anyway, back to John Rustad. At the end of the article, he says, asked whether his party's findings indicated wrongdoing or plain human error, Rustad declined to elaborate further. Unfortunately, I'm not going to reveal what we found so far, he said, but we are putting it together and we'll be revealing all of that information certainly by mid-January at the latest. Well, what did he find out? What does he have to say? What happened? Could EB get booted out? What does this mean? Does this mean that he actually should be the premier legitimately and it was sort of snatched away? Or does it mean that he just found some errors that need to be worked on? What did they find? This is some juicy stuff. I don't know, but we'll keep our eye on it. Thank you for watching this video today. I really appreciate all the love and support that I feel lately. I'm trying to grow this channel, so I'm working very hard trying to do it. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can like a video, and that helps push everything along, which is great. Just keeps it in the algorithm. Thank you for watching this one today. I'll catch you soon. Bye-bye.